Welcome everyone to Superhero Gaming. This is episode 16. Justin here back to talk about another video game, my friends. And today, as I said in our X-Men episode last week, we were going to hit the seven seas and go deep into the abyss of the ocean to the city of Atlantis with the highly panned, highly criticized, highly destroyed, one of the worst video games of all time. Hell, one of the worst superhero video games of all time in some people's eyes. Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. And this is during the early 2000s. And think about this time period, my friends. This is a time where superhero gaming is off the charts. We had Spider-Man 2, we had X-Men Legends that were really capturing the imagination of comic fans and casual gamers alike. But while superheroes thrived in the transition to interactive medium, others found themselves weighed down by poor development, rushed timelines, and misguided design choices. And that's Aquaman Battle for Atlantis is a prime example of that. So this game was released in July 2003 for the Xbox and Nintendo GameCube. Aquaman Battle for Atlantis was developed by Lucky Chicken Games and published by TDK Mediactive. And the game loosely draws from the 2001 Aquaman comic reboot, Aquaman Volume 5, which introduced a grittier version of the character complete with a hook prosthetic and a battle harder demeanor. The intent was to rebrand Aquaman as a serious superhero, dispelling decades of jokes and pop culture ridicule, super friends, I could talk to fish, things of that nature. Unfortunately, the game's development was reportedly rushed and underfunded, and the result was a product that did not support the Underwater King reimagining. Instead of helping Aquaman reclaim his throne in the gamer's heart, it turned into a cautionary tale of how not to adapt a superhero game to the medium. So let's talk a little bit about the story. So the game's premise is pretty damn simple. Aquaman must defend Atlantis from a series of attacks orchestrated by his nemesis, Ocean Master and Black Manta. Along the way, he battles armies of invaders, robots, and sea creatures bent on destruction. However, the storytelling leaves much to be desired. Rather than immersive cutscenes or dialogue, the game relies on static comic book style panels with no voice acting and text. And here's the problem with that. It would have been better if they actually got an artist from DC or someone who was working on the book to draw these panels. No, they used the graphics from the game to create this, and it just looks horrible. Key moments of the game, such as betrayal and triumph, are just reduced to these still images, and it just brings down any form of story immersion. It's horrible, guys. It truly is. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. If the narrative disappointed, the gameplay really sinks, no pun intended. And at its core, the game is a 3D underwater beat 'em up that tries to blend upon exploration with hand-to-hand combat, but what could have been a novel experience instead becomes one of the most repetitive, awkward gameplay loops of its generation. And I gotta play this for you guys momentarily. Uh, Combat consists of basic melee attacks, the occasional grapple, and a few harpoon hand animations. The controls are completely sluggish. Oh my god, and unresponsive. And it's plagued by poor hit detection and just unengaged enemies. And navigating the underwater environments, I would have to say, is a challenge. But honestly, after playing this so much to get the gameplay for you guys, I got pretty good at it. It's not as bad as people hyped it up to be. They do have like this disoriented camera angles from time to time, the slow movement and the lack of visual landmarks to make it a little bit of a chore. But you have a direction arrow that tells you exactly which direction you should go. And the levels boil down to the similar format. You swim to a waypoint, you beat up the wave of enemies there, rinse and repeat. And with so much levels and just a few variations, there is a vehicle section in here to kind of break the monotony. And that's a welcome addition to it. But for the most part, it's just wave of enemy, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not good. So as far as the graphics go, while some early 2000s games struggled with hardware limitations, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis is completely dated, even by 2003 standards. The character models are blocky, stiff animated, and they definitely lack detail. Environments are filled with so much bland textures, recycled assets, and flat lighting that do nothing to evoke the wonder and grandeur of Atlantis. How do you drop the ball on this? Visual effects such as bubbles, water distortions, and combat impacts are minimum and poorly executed. There's no dynamic lighting, there's no sense of depth, and barely any visual cues to help players distinguish friend from foe or anything like that. And the comic book cutscenes, like I told you before, the less I say, the better. Now, the audio. The sound design, very annoying. The music consists of this generic, forgettable background loops that do little to build atmosphere or tension. There are no memorable themes in this. There is no dynamic audio transitions, and the voice work are just whatever. It's not here. Sound effects during combat are weak, repetitive, and every time you beat the enemy, you hear this annoying tune. Oh my god. And let's, you know what? The more I keep talking about it, the more I'm going to get angry. So let's wrap this up so I can play this and be done with this episode. There's no replay value, okay? If you're probably wondering, should I play? No, there's no replay value, all right? There's no replay value whatsoever. This game it's horrible, all right? And you know what the sad part is? I'm a DC guy. I love DC. I'm more DC than I am Marvel, right? But I love Marvel. I don't do this Marvel versus DC nonsense, but I do prefer DC more because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with Marvel a lot too, but as far as comics reading wise, I was usually drawn to DC more. When it came to like cartoons and live action medium, I was drawn more to Marvel, especially Spider-Man and X-Men were my first introduction to Marvel characters. That being said, my friends, DC has three of what you might consider the worst superhero games of all time. This piece of shit, Batman Dark Tomorrow, which I already talked about, and the season finale game I'm going to play, Superman 64, when we do that in September. With that being said, this was a sure misfire and a missed opportunity of the seven seas. Captain James Walker will be ashamed. Look at our playlist, UWL, if you don't know who that is. Anyway, that being said, my friends, it's time to play a mission in Aquaman. Here we go. All right, here we go. We're going to play a level here. Like I said, the controls for the swimming is not actually bad. And aesthetically, it's yeah. Oh, gosh. Get over here. There you go. All right, he's done. And next guy. Oh, he blocked. There we go. All right. Next location. There we go. The flying controls remind me of Superman 64, but a little bit more refined and a little bit better. There we go. Got him. Next guy. And this is pretty much the game, folks. You're just waypoint to waypoint. Punch, kick. You unlock combos late down the line. Oh, a whole bunch of enemies. So we got to beat this level. We have to take out 28 of Black Manta's men. And just punching and kicking, and that's pretty much it. And you hear how generic and annoying this music is? There we go. Next guy, come here. Yeah, Aquaman. Yeah. All right. Next guys. Oh, there they go. The swimming aesthetics, honestly, is the best part of the game. I should block, but no. Wait, who am I? Oh, I'm targeting this guy. All right, he's gone, I think. Next guy, get over here. And, oh, look at this big guy. he's gonna take a little bit more. Ooh. Oh, how dare you? I'm the king. All right, next guy. Oh, next people over here. 1728 already. Got him. All right, who's next? Where is the guy? Oh, there they go. Ooh. Come on, got him. Oh, blocking. Do you see why people might call this the worst superhero game ever made? This is how it is. I'm not really having fun. This is actually very boring. And I love the beat 'em up genre, but this one it's not it, Chief. And this is the GameCube version, by the way. There's no difference at all about GameCube. I had a GameCube, didn't have an Xbox, so got the GameCube version. There we go. And you notice that you would think these other guys will attack me as well. Nope, they just wait and do one-on-one. See? They can easily double team me. Well, he tried. And I think I got one more guy. Where are you? Yep, and then this mission's over and this episode's gonna be over. Where are you? Oh, he's up. Come on, where are you? Show yourself! Show yourself to the king. Oh, there we go. All right, folks, we are going to wrap this up, thank God. And next week, we will return to the world of Marvel because it is time to assemble. And no, I'm not talking about that particular assemble. I am talking about the Avengers, but which one? Stay tuned next week to find out. Later days.